Hello, traders, what's up? Okay, so today we're going to look at the charts and we're going to, as always, start from a high time frame and zoom in and then talk a little bit about trading philosophy and we're going to do back testing. So, as always, I don't hardly expect anyone to watch. It's not investment advice. This is just one man getting better by teaching. So, let's start on the 2 years on Binance. And um, we see we taken the hot spot mostly. There's one at 25.6, which I still expect us to go up to on the 2 years. There's not that much below us. Let's look at Bybit though. Don't want to see the price right now. Okay. Bybit's showing heat over the all-time highs. I don't really see us going there this year, maybe next year. Okay, we have the 1 year on Bybit. Bybit is showing a lot of shorts above, up to, yeah, 26,000. And then there's more over that, but yeah, there's a hot spot over 33. 48.8 would be the big target for a long rally if we could get there. Now, let's look at the 6 months on Binance. It's showing liquidity above still, up to 26, which is not that far away, but we could get there. Yeah, Bybit is definitely showing liquidity above. My guess here is Bybit's relatively new and just people coming in and learning how to short in the last 3 months to short the bottom. So, um, yeah, I still favor a push up to 26. But here we're saying, okay, we could go to 26.4, 26.7. This is good to know that, hey, it looks hot overhead. However, when we start to go into the lower time frames now, like on the 3 month, it's a little less clear. The hottest areas are below us. I don't think we go back down there. And we've cleared most everything on the 3 month chart on that move up. The insane rally took most everything. Bybit's showing a hot spot forming underneath these lows down at 19.2. And then we go down to the 1 month on Bybit. Yeah, 19.2, we took everything. That's the hottest spot on the chart locally. And you always have to look for these pullbacks. Binance is showing actually, yeah, there's a hot spot at the 25.2, but there's a hotter spot at 16.8 and then several batches of liquidity below. So we can't rule out pullbacks and dumps, especially on the 7 day. The 7 day is definitely favoring a sweep down to 22,000 at the minimum after that move up. Um, which to me is favoring this inside short signal I got that I put on, which may or may not fill. Okay, then finally we'll go to the 12 hours. But yeah, the 7 day is favoring lower prices. 12 hours never gives that much information, but it favors lower prices. Now, something that I never used, which I want to check out right now, is liquidations levels. Um, don't really like this tool that much. Give me a lot of potential licks. but it can show ETH, so that is a nice thing. I gotta get some clothes on. The wind and the shade and the being in the shade here is quite cold. ETH. Mm, okay. The idea is, yeah, breakout. Okay, let me change. Okay, moving from here to the chart. We've had since yesterday an inside day. Yesterday was a big expansion. Hang on, let's zoom out on Bitcoin and ETH. Let's look at actually let's start with macro. Okay. And I'm gonna turn off my indicators. Yeah, I feel like we have to favor higher prices. There's definitely a trend shift. Like, look, that looks significant to me on all of these. We are breaking these key trend lines and going higher. The Russell actually down on the day. That's interesting. That said, like the Russell broke its trend line and it looked good, but then, yeah, the dollar green on the day. Someone said, I saw on Twitter, it looks like the dollar's forming a potential base. I don't see it yet. We're still just going down. If we're gonna form a base, we need to chop here much longer and then start to take a high. But yeah, none of that has happened yet. Okay. So it makes sense to favor higher prices this year. Ethereum on the weekly. It's quite an interesting chart. Holding above that level is good. Just sort of out of curiosity. Yeah, that's interesting. Like as soon as that was broken. So to me, these high time frame trend lines are becoming really important. Because like as soon as that was broken, it was just straight down. Now, I remember I had one mentor who was saying, until this trend line is broken, we're still on an uptrend on the weekly, which I thought was ridiculous. And I do think it is ridiculous. However, a lot of people thought that. And I think what it meant is, yeah, as soon as this trend line goes straight down, which did indeed happen. So yeah, those high time frame trend line breaks are quite important. And we had one here. We had one here. So I think we need to favor bullish prices. That said, if you look at where we are, we took this high and we've been struggling quite a bit. Now, I don't think we see a dump to the lows like we saw here. This was caused by the FTX debacle, which caused insane fear and selling over the next couple days and weeks. And I don't think we're going to get news like that. So a retracement, if we get it, I don't think will be very severe. I think it's unlikely it would be very severe. And we put in a higher low and we go. So that is my expectation. Let's move on to Bitcoin, and I'm just going to wipe everything. I can always retrade these things. It's just paper trading, clean charts from the March low to here. I guess same sort of idea as when the March bottom to this bottom, or this low to this low, or simply just connecting these two lows. As soon as this is lost, we never made it over that again. Yeah, a lot of people were saying 52 is really important, and it was. As soon as that was lost, boom, bang. Similarly with this trend line. As soon as this was lost, it was straight down. But and there were good longs in here. There was a couple good longs in here. There was a lot of good long trades in here, even though it favored to the downside. So it might. This is interesting. Seems like we broke that, right? We definitely broke that. And when we did, those were the fireworks, breaking all these. So again, I'm always going to pay attention to high time frame trend lines from now on, and always start in on the high time frame. Now, again, with Bitcoin, if we just read the candlesticks, huge volume coming in here off the bottom, very nice for the bulls. We have a huge green weekly, a smaller green weekly, and then we have a doji. After taking these two highs, I favor higher prices, but pullback and consolidation would make sense. Maybe onto this line, maybe fill some of the imbalance here. I don't know. We could also just keep going straight up. And again, from what we're seeing on the chart, there's a little bit here and quite a lot here. So if we could do it, it would take us over the, I don't know how it would play out, but yeah, I have to be cautiously bearish on the weekly in the short term, and definitely bullish over the long term. So now let's drop down to the daily. So I would say yesterday we had our first significant failed breakout since this rally began. And still, for the most part, no longs have been punished. And I think it's coming. And I'm looking right here where these get punished, and then it's a severe test. But we do not have the FTX news to drive us lower. We go higher. Or we could take this and go higher, or we could just go higher. A lot of that has to do not with, like, what I can see on the charts is where the limit orders are and the stop orders are. We can't see where market buyers are going to come in. Market buyers might come in and support these prices. It's possible. So that's something we always need to consider. That said, I'm a lot less interested in breakout longs now after this one failed and after we have another consolidation. I don't do Elliott waves, but I know that Wave 3 is supposed to be the strongest one. How do I do Elliott waves? Is there? I don't do Elliott waves, but I know that wave 3 is supposed to be the biggest. So maybe we're supposed to, I guess I'm learning a little bit. Um, we have a correction. I don't know. I need to study Elliott waves more, but yeah, I'm playing both sides and trying to trade a lot. So let's go back to my, we'll get a couple things before we get into the low time frame charts. Look at the moves of today, and then we will do some back testing. So right now, okay, long uh, yearly outlook is bullish. Weekly outlook is possibly bearish. Take many trades that have edge and take more reasonable profit targets. Okay. Because as a professional gambler, I'm a professional gambler, I prefer a smoother equity curve with many wins per week so that I can plan and budget my life more consistently. Make sense? Okay, so here we are on the daily now. Before I turn on my indicators, I just want to kind of analyze. We took here, we're consolidating above this. I definitely expect to take this, and eventually to take this, and eventually to take that. Expect some kind of, maybe some kind of pullback. We might not get it though. We go into the 1 hour. Okay, one more thing. So I'm logging all my uh starting to log my trading journal for paper trades. This is not 100% accurate, but this is what I have. It's not very good. That said, there's a huge amount of errors that I'm committing. So it makes sense to continue for me to paper trade. I have zero shame in that. Let me to go from feeling like, oh, I'm making a lot of money to actually let me, what color is this? To actually let me um, paper trade and be more careful. It's fine. Save my money. But the biggest thing was has been letting a lot of things round trip and stop me out. So if I was better about that, then I would be up quite a bit in a short period of time. Like this one, this inside ladder long, if this had just ran to 5,000, actually, I think I went to about 7,000. That would really change my math. That's theoretical. And this one could have run to 1,500 instead and been a win, right? And this breakdown short also could have been $1,000 win. This is in theory, obviously. I have to do it within the context of my system, but then like higher win and low RR. But I didn't do that. Okay, so we're trading inside after clearing the highs. which is what I expected, and I have limit orders inside. Let's go to now, turn on the indicators and start from a long perspective, and then go from a long perspective to a um, do long, shorts, and Bitcoin and ETH, and then I'll go to back testing. So this is the routine that makes sense. Paper trade in. Okay. And we're aiming here. I'm going to turn off executions. Clutter things up a little too much. So, this is a dangerous long, but I think it's okay. If we sweep this candle's low, sweep this consolidation low here, I'm buying right below some forced selling. So the idea would be if there's other limit orders waiting in this gap to absorb that forced selling, to then mark the price up to here. And my stop is within here, because if we take these lows, there's more forced selling and price comes down here. And it's just the risk reward isn't worth it. Now, I think it might make sense to try to improve my RR a little bit. Just a little bit. This can be just within this. And this can be on this 5-minute gap. Let me just try to improve my RR by just a little bit to 3.7. Great limit order, risk of 1. Okay, now there's a possible pivot area lower too. So my idea for this is to poke this first 5-minute gap. I think it's probably better to be inside of it though. I think that may have a more reasonable TP aim, maybe here for now, because I can always do a breakout. Okay. This one has a little bit of a wider stop, which is necessary when we're trading outside. Trading inside, you get better stops, tighter stops, and that's a reason why I'm preferring trading inside sometimes. Now, we could think about breakout longs. I would like to see more liquidity built. This is good, but we want to see more liquidity built first before it makes sense, I think. There's a breakout long setup on ETH that looks good, but I would like to see something like that to try another breakout. But the fact that that previous breakout failed is also a bit of a turnoff. Okay, let's move on to ETH longs. Here we are on the daily. Looking to go up here eventually. I actually don't think it's too greedy to aim up here on the ETH longs. And if we get faked out again, then we could hopefully get a chance to close. But I don't think, if we take this, I don't think it's too greedy to aim up there. Draw from here. I'm gonna mark these yellow, these more important ones as yellow, or at least not necessarily more important, but higher time frame ones. The combination of a higher time frame break with a lower time frame break makes for much higher probability and bigger moves. Okay, so dropping down to the 1 hour. I'm interested in the same setup on ETH, although I'm noticing my stop is not that good. However, I'm gonna cancel these and reposition them. I think it would be okay to aim up here for something high RR. And if we reject, then hopefully we have an opportunity to get out, or we get filled on some shorts. So first on the breakout long, I'm going to reposition this one. So I like a breakout long on 8th because we have this ladder. We're not under an old level. We took the old levels. This is the next old level, which is why I think it's not that unreasonable a target. Maybe my stop can or should be a little bit wider, but I want to, for the current time, just keep it at this daily high and say if slightly wider stop. See, what is the risk reward just to the top of the range? And we're close there. I guess that's a reason to have try 1%. But we are going to aim towards the old highs. I don't think that's too greedy, but again, if we get rejected, then we could trade it. Okay, we're gonna have our stop market order at 1. And then I do like trading this, and so for ETH, a simple poke of the gap tends to work better. So I'm going to try that where I'm saying, hey, I think if we come down here, we probably just poke it. We can probably bounce up this trend line. If my stop is down here, it's just too extreme. So let us set up like this. Something like this. If we consume the whole stop, the whole gap, then we're probably going lower. So let's do this. Limit order. By the way, I guess we're gonna move on to shorts. There was a couple good shorts. I want to look at that later. Yeah, I got the inside ladder longs. I just didn't get a good exit. Actually closed at the worst possible place. I'm not sure what happened with my 8th long, but Bitcoin had closed at this and had a chance to get higher. Okay, now let's look at short ideas. So on Bitcoin, this trend line is important. I feel like if this trend line breaks, then the odds of going down here are more likely. Doesn't have to be true. As soon as this one There's a number of trend lines that are breaking, and you could argue that this is even like just a retest. Okay. So where are we positioned now? Well, we're trading inside, so I have my inside long idea. I have a long from in here idea, and then maybe a long from here. Although wait for inside, an inside opportunity to develop. I believe this is an inside short opportunity because when we looked at the chart, so much liquidity is cleared, especially in the low time frame, with a lot of liquidity down here. So it makes sense to me to think that this will be respected and that we have this tighter inside range forming. Although I think red folder, economic calendar, I think there might be FOMC coming up sometime. PMI, CPI, Wednesday. Okay. No, not this week. Next week. GDP, unemployment rate, FOMC next week on Wednesday. Federal funds rate next week on Wednesday. Okay, so typically quicker profits on breakouts, maybe not trading inside and taking the outside sweep trades. I feel like they work better for red folder news events like this. Okay. Now, just looking at local price action, I did this last night and I felt kind of stupid about it. I traded a trend line break here with a stop inside here, targeting down here. And we wouldn't have quite hit it, but I also could have just closed out like that and it would have worked. But I felt uncomfortable and advanced my stop like this. And yeah, just felt pretty dumb about that. So I need to, I don't think that's, one of the reasons I felt uncomfortable is it's not a great trade. It's gambling, but it's okay. I'm a professional gambler. But it was just a low time frame. Okay, we took this liquidity, we're trending down. Or we should trend down. Yeah, I was guessing the exact saying. This looked, it wasn't a good trade, anyways. And I managed it poorly too. Okay, shorts. So the idea here is we have several fair value gaps on a lower time frame here. And we have, yeah, I would say only on a lower time frame. Inside shorts, sweep of this. Why do I have two positions? I have two positions because I'm trying this out to smooth the variance of my equity curve, where I cut my positions not quite in half, but this way, like maybe this happens, or maybe this happens, and it just allows me to, yeah, smooth a little bit of variance. So my target, I'm targeting these lows. Targeting here would be okay, I suppose, and something I could consider if I'm just trying to have more reasonable targets. I think this is a reasonable target though. I think what would be maybe an unreasonable target would be down here. Although that might happen, but it's just, yeah, I could find other opportunities as price moves down there. I don't think it's likely to trend that hard necessarily. I'm also trying since price is kind of stalling, like a sweep the gap up here. Um, this would be a lot safer. Maybe I should do it like this. 2% stop. Okay, let's move on to ETH. Oh yeah, so for breakdown shorts, it's not yet interesting to me. I would say actually it's starting to become more interesting. It's something I could consider now that we're closer to this line. So let's take a look at that. But since I have longs, and I just need to not even think about the longs and just trade them separately. But I feel like if this trend line breaks, coming down here becomes quite likely. I don't really like doing a breakdown into a fair value gap that suggests price going the other direction. So I think I'm not going to do that, and I think ETH shows us a better breakdown. So let's look at this. So for ETH, although this breakdown, probably want to change it. I would want my breakdown to be underneath here. Yeah, it's just not, I don't think it's yet ideal for a breakdown. I think what would be ideal for a breakdown would be price coming, taking this fair value gap and bouncing. Then it becomes ideal for a breakdown where I'm not shorting into support. Okay, let's look at ETH. This seems quite risky now. This inside. I think I'm gonna cut this one. I don't know if it even has edge. I think there's just too much liquidity for ETH. The odds of if we break it, of just blasting off to unknown heights is too high. And I don't think that trade has that much edge right now. I want to see equal like 2 or 3 levels. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 untapped daily highs. If we clear them, we can go stratospheric, something like that. Um, Similarly with Bitcoin, even though we have this key trend line, I'm expecting it will bounce once, and if we come down here, we might not, but into this gap, and that would give us now a breakout short under that. But I think still, just if we come down here, shorting this low, if we, like, there will be forced selling here, 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 and here. So expecting price to just quickly dump, I think is okay and should have some amount of edge, enough edge to trade that. So not shorting in this ladder where there's forced buying, definitely not. Let's look at, and I have my breakout longs. You know, what's interesting, I missed this because I thought like, oh, this thing's probably gonna break out. But even to just something like this would have been quite interesting, where price would have taken that. And I think the other chart actually showed a fair value gap right there. And something like this could have, in theory, could have worked. Although, yeah, for a +3 or so, that would have been quite interesting. We're just trading inside. There's probably some scalp idea like this that is interesting. Just feel like a breakout seems quite likely, so the fact that we have some bullish expansion is quite interesting on ETH. Just looks like it wants to take some highs. Let's go back to our long chart. That's something I'd be somewhat interested in. That said, like, the odds don't seem great. Here, maybe it would have felt like it made sense to long that, but definitely not. Mm, and then the long would have already happened right there. It would have been the fill. I think it's a little bit late. And then I would actually be longing a local breakdown, which seems not very good. Just longing this to the trend line would be reasonable. But why do we think this local downtrend would be over? I don't know that there's enough edge, but I want to get used to just trading more. Is this, do I have more than zero edge on this? I'm not sure that I do. What don't I like about it? I could just as easily say this is a breakdown short, we should break down here. It's also too low time frame. It would require too much checking in, I think. Like I could argue for the opposite trade too, where hey, if we lose this trend line, we should just quickly dump down here. So I'm just not going to do that. Yeah, taking the other side is important. Okay, now I'm going to pause for a bit, take a break, and we're going to come back and do some. We're going to do some back testing. Okay, I took a break and I'm back, and I don't have as much time as I like right now. I'm gonna only do a little bit of back testing. I'm also maybe interested in some bringing my ETH breakout along closer. I think I should just stick with the key trend line though. But I could try an earlier start off of this one. Or I could try a long in this. My goal being to take more trades. I think I'm just going to try this. Long in here, stop in here, aiming the top of this trend line for roughly a 2R. Don't really like that. Maybe I'll try two as a couple different smaller positions. I'm kind of interested to see what would happen. So we have this idea. Coming up here, which is a 2.7. I would aim under. I'd just aim to right here for a 2R. Or I could also try a breakout and say if we take this high, We take this high. This should be support. We should go up here. But I have this one. It seems better. I don't know how much risk I want. I could just throw on like smaller risk on these ones. You could also say, hey, if we break this, this should be left behind. This was the inside long. I'm just gonna try them and try to do nothing with them and do small risk. Stop market at 0.5 risk. Why isn't it letting me? Risk 0.5. Okay, stop. This one. 0.5 risk. 0.5. For Bitcoin, I don't like longs nearly as much on, but yeah, I still like these longs from lower. Arguably, it would be a trend line break, but not a major trend line. I should keep this on my long chart though. This line. It would have been interesting. Yeah, I need to get better at profit taking because I had my long from down here. I went 5R in my favor while I was surfing and retraced all the way and I closed right in here. But it's just the worst place to close, right? Like I could have held and closed here. I could still be holding it and it might be reasonable too. Yeah, but what's going on with these candles turned green? Is it this? I accidentally turned. Well, maybe I'll try that. What it's doing is it's showing where we have a fair value gap. No, where we had a fair value gap. Yeah, I don't like that. Let's turn that off. Bar color, no. So I guess we're bullish on ETH today. I have a lot of different ideas on this one. Would pay for this one. Yeah, I like having all these trades, doing them with smaller risk. Okay, I have to do some back testing. I'm gonna try to not do that much because I have other things I need to do today. I want to go surf from say 11 to 12:30, lunch from 12:30 to 1:30, go to the vet at 2, come back, go to Kaala Farm, go to play basketball, and then sneak in some more chart time in there too. So I'm not going to spend much time on this. I should have been more productive with my time, but I wasn't. Gonna pick some random time. Hey, been here before. Now, let's start actually zooming out. Draw some higher time frame trend lines. I think it's more useful to say if this doesn't hold. Let's look at all these, yeah. Then should be pointing. So there's some breakout ideas on a higher time frame. The first thing I'm interested in is a long in this region, at least up towards the trend line, if not beyond it. So let's go into the 1 hour now. Say, hey, we should sweep this gap. This bottom should be respected. We should come up here and kind of want to chance him with a tighter stop. And if I'm stopped out, I will try again. I want to see price come up a little bit. Okay. So now what I'm thinking is we can also do a little, oops. We could do a little short here. Just a small short down to, it doesn't make sense. We could think, there's some levels in here we could think about shorting in. That's interesting. Let's back up to something that I may have missed. As price climbs on this line, it gets better and better because there's more and more liquidity built and the distance makes more sense. So to short inside here now and just aim to this block is quite good. And it happens. Now, we didn't get filled here. And I need to back up because remember this is ETH, not Bitcoin. So for ETH, I'm supposed to do a poke the gap, not a run the gap. We should just poke this gap. And we do. No, I get stopped out. We do run the gap. So where was my original entry? It was on a 4 hour. Yeah, I need to do this on a 1 hour. Enter at the mid part of the gap. Stop in this void. Got stopped out in that entry. Well, I'm cheating. Let me do it again. Should have a wider stop anyways. Okay, so now there's potential for loss here as I guess I can do my daily exhaustion entrance here, but I also, it would make sense to inside along here, which I know is going to be a loss. That's okay. And then as we expand, presumably there was an entrance in here on a lower time frame. There might not have been. This is where I would like to enter if I'm only up on the hourly. Something like this, aiming much higher. I am looking at breakout trades right now as well. And I'm saying If we take this high, maybe if we break just a little bit higher, we should break a lot higher. Oh, we stepped at this trend line here. And I can long above that, start to long above some of those lines. So we do get filled on that, and the breakout works. Now we need to think about taking profits too. Right now we have where this one's running at 2, this one's running at 2. So we want to protect what we have. Go to the daily. What makes sense as a target? I think the top of this trend line at the least makes sense as a target. And if it's possible, poke the gap long right there. No. Okay. Well, I guess when this happens, interesting. What we could have done was raised our stop up to here. Okay, we got break even on the first one, break even on the second one. Maybe that's where we need to just say, hey, we took this high. We can always try again with a breakout if we get it. Let's just bag our +5. I realize I'm cheating when I'm doing this, but I'm trying to get used to taking more reasonable targets and just participating in more trades. So here's an idea for an inside long, which needs to be like right inside. And it doesn't work. There's another idea for an inside long. Which would have looked like this. And I'm interested in another breakout long just above this. And I'm interested in breakdown shorts. I'm just not going to mark them because I'm pretty sure it doesn't happen. If we take this low, we should at least go to this trend line here. Breakouts. Why would we aim for higher this time but not the last time? Well, I think this time we just aim for you can aim for this trend line. Then we could have a separate trade. We back up. We're looking for longs in here. Anyways, just break through this liquidity. Should we do? Okay, not the best backtesting session, but there would be another good long. But see, even closing in here and just repositioning, finding a breakout here, finding a breakout there. There's no shorts anyways, because we're just clearing through all this. Maybe there would have been a short right in here. But this is the only time when there's a short. Poking this gap as a short. Taking this gap as a short. If we do. We took that. And then inside shorts. There's an inside short. Well, those didn't necessarily work, but there's another inside short. That works. Okay. All right, I'm gonna go do other things. Peace.